Greetings, it is I, Tantus Naravan Jacobin, Lord and Emperor of the Jacobin Empire, and welcome! It is time to continue my discussion on the bloodlines and clans of Vampire the Masquerade in the World of Darkness. Today we have another clan for you, an interesting independent clan, the Bali. Now the Bali are said to be, of course, demon worshippers, through and through. They are associated directly with, of course, worshipping them. They have the disciplines of obfuscate, presence, and daimonion. They are said to be particularly vulnerable to religious iconography, and those that have true faith are particularly effective against them. Now, when you talk about the Bali, they are either referred to as possibly using the destruction, death, and carnage that they cause to feed sleeping demons to prevent them from waking up, or at worst and more often, they are referred to as being diabolicists who worship demons and give in order to gain power from them. Now, their exact origins are hard to say. They are rumored to be a bloodline descended from either the Salubri, the Cappadocians, or the Semiche. Even there is some talk that they could possibly be from very early on in the time of the Gangrel. What is really known is that they have the ability to convert a vampire from another clan using dark thaumaturgic rituals into a Bali. So they are partially a sect and partially a cult. Now their true origins are shrouded in mystery. No one knows for sure where they really came from, but it is known that all 13 clans united in a way, in ways that they hadn't before when the threat of the Bali arrived, for both Bali wars which occurred, which they fought very valiantly against them and managed to basically win. The Bali themselves made a lot of peace between the vampire clans. Now, they still existed in many of the ancient days and spread themselves out. They're very good at hiding. It is said that they were one of the reasons that the Carthage began to become more darker and darker, basically became a site of the Bali. And that the Ventrue, when they turned against Carthage and salted it in the end, is because they wanted to make sure that the influence of the Bali, should it really have existed there, was eliminated. And it is true that the Bali may have been there. The Bali are pretty much as spread out as they could be. They even infiltrated Rome and kind of hid amongst there. Traditionally, though, the three clans that opposed the Bali and were their greatest enemies were the Assamites, the followers of Set, and the Salubri. Those three were the ones that the Bali did the most battle with during these ancient times. Now, when it came to the Dark Ages, monotheistic religions, as it spread out and became most popular, were one of the greater threats to the Bali. Their dark rituals and their cults basically became outlawed and were threatened with death and elimination by the church. So they were forced to go deeper and deeper underground. They still spread corruption and plague as best they can to sow dissent, but they were forced to basically hide themselves as much as they could. Things changed, though, when Azazel, one of the Bali, attempted to bid for power within their organization, as much as they had. An ensuing, basically, war with those followers of Moloch, I'll talk about that, resulted in eventually, after 100 years, the remains of those that were attacked forming the Order of Moloch and heading north and escaping away from the rest of the groups of Bali. They eventually, though, did ally themselves with the old clan Semiche, in which some of the members sort of passed in between them at that point in time. The Order of the Moloch evolved into a group that decided to hunt Infernalists, to basically get revenge against them and turn against them. Now, the Victorian Age saw that most vampires thought the Bali extinct, while they basically on the verge of it, as the remaining members basically hid amongst the various sets that were beginning to form, the Camarilla, the Sabbat, etc. As we move into the final nights, the Bali become 4 months. The Bali basically have continued hiding in amongst people until a coven of them is discovered in North America and basically captured and slaughtered. The result of this means that people know that the Bali still exist, that they aren't gone. On the other side, the Order of Moloch has continued their basically eternal war against the Bali and other Infernalists, and has had some good victories, but the result of it is that they've been lessening in numbers. The Bali have managed to keep up their numbers. The Order of Moloch have not. When an ancient city, which is said to be where the original founders of the Bali basically got their start, basically made their first deal with demons, is discovered, then, and it is sort of proven that there's a strange dark power to it. The Order of Moloch decides to ally themselves with the Tal Makeru, or the Black Hand, in order to gain some power. The Black Hand does take them in, with some special stipulations and rules, and it turns out this allegiance has actually been quite lucrative, that the two sides have been very successful in their missions. So it has actually been a great alliance between the two of them in the modern Knights. Now, Bali are explorers, first and foremost. They will do anything, sacrifice anyone, cause any kind of destruction in order to gather arcane knowledge. They aren't falsist dealers, though, even though some neonates fall for this. They tend to believe that every sacrifice, every murder, every death is another step towards Gehenna, the apocalypse. Effectively, there is this dam holding it back, and every time they do something, it creates a crack in it, slowly breaking away and breaking that dam. So there really are a doomsday cult. Now, the Bali have a number of sects within them that were established during the Dark Ages. The Nurgle, the Moloch, and the Unnamed, which is a third group which has a leader which is basically unnamed. Each of them has their own different ways of looking at infernal work. The Nurgle are very direct and blunt when it comes to throwing out their infernal worship. The Moloch, on the other hand, are very secretive and much better infiltrating groups. The Unnamed servants are hard to pin down exactly how they do. They don't seem to have a standard like the other two do. And there are some other sects which have descended from these three as we move into modern days, lesser sects which exist. Now, the Bali tend to embrace very intelligent folks, and especially those that are curious and have even learned some occult knowledges. They also have the most disturbing embrace of any vampire. For their embracing ritual, they first set up a location. They set up a pit somewhere and fill it with corpses. Then they capture their victim, the one that they're planning to convert. They basically drain their victim to near death, throw them in the pit with the rotting corpses. Now, ahead of time, they placed a little bit of their blood in one of those rotting corpses. So now it is up to the person they've thrown in the pit to crawl through, tearing apart these corpses to find the heart that has a little bit of Bali blood in it, in order to effectively get embraced. This is kind of an interesting thing, actually, because they're one of the few clans that regularly gives a being a choice of becoming a vampire or death. Because they really are doing it at this point in time. You can choose not to go for that blood. You know, it's like, well, you can become an eternal vampire that worships demons, or you can die. Your choice. Now, the Bali have two identities, at least. They have the identity as the Bali, as themselves, in which they form covens, 3 to 6 members that are closely united, that rarely meet. They meet on special times, which could be something like a new moon, full moon, other special times of the year, for their various dark rituals and information gathering points in time. They also are known to, during these rituals, ally themselves with Black Spiral dancers, and some of their rituals involve both meeting Bali and Black Spiral dancers. Their other identities are upstanding members of the various sects which control a city. This could be either Camarilla or Sabbat. They will never imitate a Kadif. And more often than not, though, they imitate a Tremere. The thing about a Tremere is detecting the differences between a Tremere's blood and a Bali's blood is in fact incredibly difficult. That the Tremere require high levels of thaumaturgy to even detect that difficulty, and it's a very difficult check nonetheless. And oftentimes, it can be accounted for some other differences within the Tremere bloodline anyway. It can be excused. The Tremere are secretive in nature, so you can see how the Bali can easily hide in amongst them. The same connections that are said to be to Salat and the Salubre from the Bali, the possible ones there, are maybe another reason, because it was Salat's diabolization which gave the Tremere clan status. Also, they use Simiche blood to form themselves in the first place, another one of the clans which is said to have that close possible connection to the founding of the Bali. Now, the Bali have formed a number of sets within the Tremere, 2 of them in fact. The Order of the Worm is the main one that they use to recruit new members to their clan from within the Tremere. They effectively start them down a path which they get into darker and darker rituals. Eventually, they will learn that their true masters are the Bali and the demons, after they've gone way too far for them to turn back. Now, within the Sabbat, the Bali have an easier time of hiding. The Sabbat have given up their humanity, so a demon worshipper is easier for them to hide in amongst them. The Bali have really 2 goals when it comes to infiltrating these groups. The first off is possible conversion of members of the group. They seek to make more of the members demon worshippers like themselves. And should this fail, though, they're ready to bring death. That's the other one, death and destruction. Many conflicts between the Camarilla and the Sabbat are in fact fueled by the Bali basically pushing them on to drive it to basically violent conflict rather than just words. Now, a recruited vampire to the Bali is called an apostle. A special dark thaumaturgic ritual is used to basically embrace or change the vampire into a true servant of the Bali, to prove their loyalty. They give up one of their clan disciplines in order to take daimonion. This actually means that there are bloodlines for every clan within the Bali. An interesting and unique fact. And that actually, when it comes to it, the most of these specialized bloodlines are actually Lasombra. The most Lasombra have converted to Bali. Now, the one clan variant I want to talk about is the Asnieli, basically created by Asniel. He sired 12 into his organization originally, and it's hard to say if any survived in the modern era. Their goal was to find the lost city of Nashkan Shamir and the demonic entity that was supposed to be sleeping within it, Namtaru. They're said to be black-hearted, spiritually compromised Diabolists even by Bali standards, and have been known to work with the Black Angels of Lasombra. It is said they can have 2 sets of disciplines if they wish to basically choose from them, because of their connections to the shadows. Obfuscate, Obtenebration, the Lasombra clan discipline, and then either Daimonian or Presence. Or the other combination would be Daimonian, Dominate, and one of 3, Potence, Presence, or Obfuscate. Now, the Bali first appeared in the early editions, in which time their only motivations that were shown were, of course, to worship demons. Within the Dark Ages, we began to see more hints of some of the darker works at play, and the clan book Bali added a lot. A lot of the books that mention the Bali only help add to the mystery because they don't really hammer down one exact origin or one exact story to them. The point of all this material has to keep them actually mysterious. The point has been to keep this mystery to them and to keep them being a very strange and unusual and threatening, alien even, group of vampires. Going along with this, there is still much speculation to the true origins of the Bali, whether it's from one particular clan or possibly a group of 3 different clans that each were a basically elder of one of these clans and went into the sect that originally formed it. That could make sense for the original 3 sects that had to deal with, of course, the Bali, but it's really hard to say what is true about this entire organization and how it works. The Bali themselves tend to be very small in their organizations and rarely get together in very large-scale groups, as you can see by the coven sort of focus that they have. So that's it for today. I introduced you to, of course, the Bali, demon-worshipping vampires, who with a mysterious and truly unknown origin that every bit of literature that has been described on them only adds to their mystery. We learn some more about them, about their history, about some of the goals certain groups of them do, about the various groups that do exist within their organization. But their true origins and some of their true goals just are out of the sight of people. They never will be shown. They have powerful demonic abilities and are known to convert other vampires into their clans. So they're equal parts a true clan itself. They can spread by embrace, but they're also a cult almost, because they can convert other vampires to their blood almost, using dark thaumaturgic rituals. This means that there are so many different bloodlines within the Bali. There are a true path that holds true, but very easily there are those that have converted to it and have hints of the disciplines that originally existed within those bloodlines. So you can see there's this interesting juxtaposition between them. They have been the only threat that has driven all the other clans together to oppose them. And they fought 2 powerful wars against all of them. Now they just hide. Hide and slowly do what they need to do from inside. From deep within these organizations, they convert or destroy. They sow seeds of dissonance between them, so they'll fight themselves out, and either they'll turn to them for some power, or die. The Baali are interesting as they are a true doomsday cult. They believe their actions are going to cause Gehenna, the end of the world for vampires. And they race towards it with open smiles in their face and ready for it. Truly an interesting group, and a dangerous one. But if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, especially for the channel, the Empire, the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you can always check out my Patreon, link description below. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.